You're listening to Wanna Coffee with Kai Alicia.
And Adriana.
Talking
Random.
sensible
Shit.
coffee. I am your host, Kai, with special guest Chris from Kinky Politics.
Hello.
Special topic for today, getting over a breakup. What a great topic. I can tell you I've been through this in a big way twice. And, you know, it definitely makes you consider if you ever want to be in love again.
Yes. Yes.
You know?
Yeah. Definitely.
Because it's so traumatic. And I feel like, I mean, the first breakup I had, as soon as it happened, even though like I knew it was bound to happen, I started losing my hair in the middle of my scalp. I was so stressed out. I cried for weeks. I lost so much weight. And I literally, at the time I was 22, I think. I was 22, 23, something like that. 22, probably. 22 is after college. So after undergrad. And I was, oh my God, I was such a mess. I remember my older brother saying like, yeah, breaking up is hard. The best way to get over someone. I'm like, what? He's like, find someone new.
Oh, yeah.
What'd you say?
No, for guys, they say the best way to get over somebody is to get under somebody else.
Oh, yes, exactly. Like, he's saying, find someone new, like just get with someone else, And I took his advice.
Oh, bad advice.
Oh, yes.
Bad
I
advice.
took his advice 2 months later. I'm like, yeah, I'll find someone new. And I found someone else at the club, as you do.
Oh, yeah.
Real classy.
Yeah.
And I remember he was completely different than my ex-boyfriend at the time. He was foreign, he was Polish, and yeah, he was real exotic. I remember looking at him and being like across the club and thinking to myself like, wow, he looks like white Jesus. This is amazing. It's like all my dreams coming true.
Yeah.
And because I was very, very religious as a child too, so like,
yeah,
that was a disaster. He, as you can imagine, most cases, starting off a relationship like that is not gonna end well, and it didn't. He was just there for the obvious, getting it in wherever he could, whenever he could.
Yeah.
And it worked for like 2 weeks until I was like, wow, there's a hole inside of me. This is just terrible. This is terrible. So I stopped that. But I do think for some people, it actually works.
I don't know. People are really weird because for me, when I break up with somebody, I go through a deep processing phase where it's like, I gotta analyze this shit, figure out what did I do? Could this been avoided? Like after you get past like intermixing with that, depending on, if you broke up with them or they broke up with you or how you're feeling about all that, there might be a lot of like I want this person. Cause like for me, like when I broke up with the girl I thought I was going to get married to, and I was like madly in love with, she, I'm sorry, I was going to say, we kind of still would talk a little bit. We tried being friends or whatever, whatever. And I, for years, like just, I couldn't really like enjoy like another girl or another woman, like, or I didn't want to go out and stuff like that because it was just like they weren't her. Like I was just like I wanted her and they weren't her. So it was like when you're in that mindset, it's like it doesn't matter the person. Like nobody stands a chance with you at that. That's what they say. Like you're not over your ex. Like you can tell sometimes people just ain't over an ex, and some people can hang on to that shit for years, which I did. But then eventually, I don't know, like what helped me get over it, and maybe this doesn't work in all situations, but you just kind of focus on like for me, two things. Number one, it was like there are billions of women on this planet. There are just if 1% of women out there find me attractive and are like compatible with me in some way, that gives me like over a million options out there to find happiness and love. Why am I sitting around here sulking over this one girl that I want to give my everything to, and she has deemed me unworthy of that and doesn't want anything, like isn't willing to like be in my life like that, doesn't you know? And I was like, what kind of idiot am I to be sitting around like wasting years of my life focusing on this woman when there's all these millions of women out there that I could give this love to? And then the other thing is you kind of think about like when you go through breakups, especially if you're the person trying to get somebody back or whatever, there's a lot of disrespect that's going to come your way because people aren't gentle when they are kind of like, especially in those real right after those breakups. You kind of start thinking about all the disrespect. And you're like, is this what love looks like? Is this what I want in my life? Is this what I want from a relationship? Those kind of things help me move on because, if you just keep thinking about the good things about that person, never going to get over that person. You'd be like, oh, I remember this, this, and this. But you forget about those bad things or those dark days. Because my ex was like kind of crazy too. Once I started focusing more on the crazy and less on the amazing qualities, I was like, oh, yeah, I just need to. You got to zone in on the bad qualities as much. It helps you get through a breakup. Like forget the good qualities until after you're over them. Then you can kind of remember, oh, they're not a horrible person. They had good qualities too.
Yes. Yeah, that's exactly what I had a mentor. He was amazing. He is amazing. He's like, I don't know, I think he's like 85 now, but he's still like killing it
Yeah.
in Chicago, who was there for me during my first breakup. And he said, the best way to get over someone is to feel the pain, acknowledge the pain, go through the pain, and then think about all the bad things that they've done to you. Let it turn into anger until that anger goes away because they're not there anymore.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't want to think of him as a bad person because he actually is a nice person and he hasn't done a lot of bad things to me. I was the one to actually do the bad things.
Yeah.
And he was like, well, you got to find the bad things then.
Yeah, exactly.
Find the bad things.
Wash
And
the
I'm like,
dishes right. Son of a
but it was hard. And they also say that for the length of time that you were with someone and then you break up with them. So let's say you were with someone for like 3 years, it takes double the amount of time to get over them.
Yeah.
So it'll take like if you're with someone for 3 years, it'll take a full 6 years to get over. And that makes a lot of sense. Like a lot of sense. Cause it's kind of like when that person's gone, it's almost like they died or something.
Yeah.
Because they're just no longer there. They're no longer like in your life. And it's like, okay, did they die? They didn't really, but they died because they're no longer there. So like they no longer exist in your life, So it's really kind of like shitty. That's interesting that was your approach and your two things. That's actually very helpful.
Yeah.
So those of you out there dealing with breakups, that's incredible. One of the other things I feel like that helped me through my breakup was to stop feeling sorry for myself, which is kind of what you said in that you were like, there's so many women out there, so many women, right? So there are so many men, but like I really gave into like the whole like, oh, I'm gonna cry and oh, woe is me and this is really bad, and it was. But it was my mother kind of shook me and was like, yo, like, all right, you've been crying like for the past week. I'm gonna give you like literally, my mom said to me, I'm gonna give you 1 more week to cry. And once that week is finished, you have no more tears. And if I catch you crying, you're gonna be in big trouble. And my mom was a Black woman, so I knew what that meant, and it worked. I literally prepared for like, okay, this is all I have. And so I'm going to get everything out.
Yeah.
And by the end of that week, I wasn't crying. It was like I committed to, this is the time I'm going to give myself and feel sorry for myself. And then now, as painful as it is, I have to just figure out a way to move on. I got to figure it out. And, I was lucky too, I guess, to some degree, because my mom was really, she has the best advice for other people, but I felt like with my mom, she was very, she with particularly me, I think she was very like hard in her approach.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that's because my dad was so soft in his approach to me, so it was a pretty good balance. But she would tell me like, okay, you've got a specific amount of time to cry, and you can only cry in your room, or you can only cry in the bathroom. I don't want you crying around the house like a big baby. And so like I was like, well, mom, so but she just was tired of seeing me in so much pain, I think too.
Yeah.
That she was just like, go to your room or go to the bathroom, do that elsewhere. But she's like, I've got a great CD for you. And I'm like, you do,
Yeah.
Mom? I don't want to listen to any of your like Beethoven shit or any of, like I don't want to listen to any of that stuff.
Yeah.
And she gave me this India Ari CD, which was like during that time, there was a really big song called I Am Not My Hair.
Okay. I remember her. I don't know if I remember that song.
Okay, that was her big claim to fame in the beginning when she first came out. She remixed it with Akon. I think she remixed it, or maybe it's on the original. I can't remember. But I never really cared for it on the radio. But when my mom said, you're really going to love this CD. I rented it from the library. And so if you don't like it, you can always take it back. Mm-hmm. And I was like, okay. And it meant, first of all, it's an amazing CD. It's an amazing piece of music. It's just like an incredible work of art. And she's an incredible songwriter, which it felt like the entire CD was all about healing. And, music is so therapeutic and it's so personal. And it just puts you instantly in a good mood. Even if the music is like sad, it kind of still does something to your little, I don't know, it does something to your cells where it just elevates them. And at the time I was losing my hair. And so like to hear Net then in perspective, having a song like I Am Not My Hair was like really like, oh yeah, I'm not. And, so it was really good. And then I stayed busy. I started to stay really busy. Like I got a second job that summer so that I wouldn't have to think as much about him.
Yeah.
And I tried to do different things, like when I had energy, if I wanted to get active in things. And if I didn't have the energy to do stuff, I watched The Office, the BBC version.
Oh, okay.
Have you ever seen it?
Yeah.
Oh, so
I've seen like at least half of it.
Okay. The American version is nowhere near as good.
The season kind of tries to replicate it, but then from the second season onward, it's just a completely different show.
Oh,
yeah.
I don't like it at all. I don't like the American version.
Oh, I think it's the greatest sitcom ever.
Huh?
I think it's the best sitcom ever. I love it.
The Office?
Yeah, the American version.
Ooh, I don't like it.
I
do not like it.
Man.
Oh.
It helped get me through my breakup.
Huh?
It helped get me through my breakup because my sister bought me like around the time I broke up with my girlfriend, it was like the first 4 or 5 seasons of The Office were out. So every year for Christmas, my sister would get me the most recent season of The Office on DVD. So, and I didn't have cable at the time. So, and it was one of the few things I owned on DVD. And between like when you get Netflix DVD sent to you in the mail, remember that? So like, sometimes you'd kind of be between DVDs, you didn't have anything to watch. So whenever I was in that stage, I was always just watching those 5 seasons of The Office. So they have a very special part in my heart because it was during that time.
Oh, my breakup. So funny. We both watched The Office. Yes, that helped me too. So I was going to say, like, watching funny shit is like to raise your spirits
Yeah.
was so helpful for me.
Watch some
Um,
comedies about people dealing with breakups. It helps.
yeah,
Helps you see the kind of just keep it a little more light.
yeah. And I think
Don't watch Twilight.
no, no. But I think that we are a society that believes we shouldn't go through pain.
Yeah.
And you know, I think that my I was lucky to have that mentor who said to me like, you're going to go through pain and you need to accept that, and it's going to be painful and there's going to be hurt. So just let that come. Let that come, you know? And so I wasn't as, even though I didn't enjoy it, I welcomed it. Like I was like, okay, I'm going to have to go through pain, you know? And then it got to the point where my mom was like, all right, that's it. Like, you don't have to be there 24/7. Like, we got to do something here, you know? But I think that in going through a breakup, not running away from the pain helps you get over it.
Yeah, definitely. Most people tend to either, try to numb the pain or try to avoid it. But which is what I did. I didn't do the numbing thing so much. I tried to avoid it. Like try and convince yourself, like, oh no, I'm over it. I'm over it. Nah, this ain't phasing me. Nah. But then, you start trying to go out with other girls, you sleep with other girls, and it's like you try to pretend like you're normal now, like I'm normal. But it's like, dude, you still got the, and that's the thing. It makes me feel like the number one thing I can advise to people is don't do that, because all you're doing is passing on your toxic pain to other people. Because basically, when you're doing that, you're just using people for sex or using people for, to avoid feeling something that you don't want to feel. But they don't know that that's what's going on. So it's like it's not an honest agreement between you two because they think you're interested in them. They think maybe this is going somewhere, but in your head and your heart, it ain't going nowhere. You're just using this person. It's like you need to
Right.
face your pain, go through it, and then once you go through it, then you can come out and maybe have other relationships and start dating and not be a toxic. Because that's the thing for me is like I don't want to spread pain or trauma or any kind of like negative vibes to other people. Like
Mm-hmm.
if I'm feeling that, like I just want to keep that to me. But
Yep.
sometimes you unknowingly can get into a situation like I didn't know that's what I was doing. It took me a number of years and had a couple of people that I hurt, and people kept telling me I wasn't over my ex. And then eventually I was like, you know what? They're right. I gotta
Mm.
deal with this shit. And
And how
nobody,
long did it take for you to get over?
well, once I got around to finally kind of facing it and dealing with it, um, probably, I don't know, 6 months, a year, something like that. The big thing for me was like my ex lived out in Los Angeles, and at this time I was living in Baltimore. I flew from Baltimore to Los Angeles, told her I wanted to meet up or whatever. So we met up, and I just laid it all out there because my whole thing was I was like, look, basically like I I was Midwestern guys, we kind of keep our feelings buried and kind of hidden. We don't really like to express our emotions and stuff. So I just kind of realized like that's what I needed to do. Like I just needed to take my shot, lay it all on the line, and whatever happens, happens. But I can move on because I know like I haven't left anything unsaid or anything like that. So flew out there, we went out to dinner and everything, and this is kind of brutal. So this is kind of a sad story, but went out to dinner. We're on like the beach, a little bit south of like Redondo Beach at the sushi place, eating or whatever. Reach across the table and put my hand on her hand. Tell her I'm still in love with her. Uh,
Oh,
after all these years, I've still never met anybody that makes me feel the way she does. I
oh,
mean, I'm saying this shit from the heart too. Like, get emotional. We go out on the beach, we walk. I had like the little earbuds, so I put one in her ear and one in my ear, and we're listening to this little song, doing a little slow dance on the beach. I'm thinking this is it. And she told me she felt the same. She told me she felt the same. So then we go, we end up back at her place or whatever, and whatever. I kind of got the vibe like she was wanting to have sex, but I was like, this just feels awkward to me because she had also told me about some traumatic stuff she'd been going through, and I was like, I feel like this is a little sketchy because she'd kind of been in an abusive relationship. So I was like, I don't really want to be taking advantage of you in a vulnerable state because I didn't want to feel like that guy, because because after we broke up the first time, she came to visit me a few months later, and we had sex a few times, and she accused me of taking advantage of her in a vulnerable state. So I was like, I didn't want to repeat that situation. But so then, I left LA after all that, and she had told me she wanted to like pursue this. We, wanted to pursue a reconciliation, all that stuff, right? So I fly back to Baltimore, go back to work that next day, come home from work, text her a few times. She hadn't responded. And then I get a text from her later that night that just says, Chris, I'm sorry I can't. I just can't. And that was that. And I was like, I cried, I was hurt. I was a little down for a few days, but then I kind of just realized, like, you know what? I laid it out there. Like I got nothing left. I don't know. This ain't on me. It's on her. She's an idiot. Like sometimes you gotta develop a little swag too, and just be like, you know what? If she don't want this, she's an idiot. Like who wouldn't want this? Like
Yes.
you're lucky to have me. I was willing to cherish her. She didn't
Oh.
go be with somebody else. Fool.
I love it. And on that note, thank you for sharing that, Chris. We will be back. This will be our last episode until we come back for season 2. So it's been great being with you all, and we're looking forward to an amazing season 2, and we'll see you then. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year in advance.
Thanks for listening. We want to know what you think.
Send us your comments and follow us on Twitter and Facebook
at #WantACoffeePod.
Oh my god. Orange is not my new black.